What is up, Scrub fam? I am here. I'm alive, and I'm here with a video. This is your Ohio Regional Primer video. I usually do these on the Patreon, and I figured that I would go ahead and do one for the masses. Figured I'd do one for YouTube so you guys can get a glimpse of some of the content that's actually available on the Patreon, and at the same time, just make sure everyone is prepared for Ohio Regionals coming up this weekend. So, before I get into the video, let me give a shout out to my sponsor, Beer Collectibles. Alec Pastrana is the best shop owner on the planet. If you're looking at your sealed products, especially for World Martial Arts Tournament, which is actually looking really spicy, especially if you like Jackie Chun and the announcer leader, there's a lot of really cool decks that you can build around those two. You get your product from Beard Collectibles. Also, if you're looking to get the freshest, hottest, best content out there, and you're looking to support, the mission here at 3xG Productions, be sure to check out the Patreon. And if you're looking to get a 3xG Scrub Fam shirt, you can check out beardcollectibles.com. Enough with the plugs. We are here to talk about the Ohio Regional, and we're here to talk about the format leading into the Ohio Regional based off the events that occurred over at Richmond, as well as the Core TCG event. So at Richmond, we had Eon Hill, shout out to Eon Hill, winning an event with Blue Yellow SS3, and then we had Core TCG, a gentleman named Russell won that event with Mono Blue, and it was actually a Mono Blue mirror in the finals. So Data put that together. Those are probably your top two decks right now, so we're going to be able to go over that, rest of the format too. But in general, those events were pretty dope. I was at Richmond, had an amazing time. Shout out to everyone that I met at Richmond. There were so many people that approached me about the content on YouTube, the Patreon, like thanking me for all the help that they've gotten from the resources that they were given, and people felt like they were really taking a step forward with their own play. And a lot of people crediting me with the reason why they were to be successful and get their invite or get their best finish that they've had to date. Like, they credited a lot of the stuff, information that was on the Patreon itself. So that was actually pretty amazing, and I was blown away by that. My day started in round one. I was on stream against Chris McCormick, and I won that set 2-0. I was playing Blue Yellow SS3. Deck felt pretty good, and I did make a misplay in the first game, which was talked about heavily on Facebook, and the main reason why is because they swung with the Digging Deep Vegeta, and I used a Sensu Bean to defend it the second time as opposed to giving an extra 5k combo. The reason why that occurred was because he hadn't swung with his leader yet, and he swung with his Digging Deep one time. I took it, and then the second time he swung immediately with it again, and I just awakened, and all I could think of was just like, I need to bean, because so I can basically defend 2 attacks for 1 card. So I was like, Sensu Bean, and ultimately the play didn't affect the course of the game itself, but I still feel pretty bad because I didn't want to make a misplay, number one, on camera. I also didn't want to make that play to affect the game potentially against Chris because he was an amazing opponent, and in general, it was a really bad spot for everybody. But ultimately, I played the rest of the games really clean, and then, that didn't affect my tournament performance throughout the rest of the day. The next round, I played against one of my patrons, Jose, who we played a really cool game where game one I actually decked out. He was playing Blue Yellow Hirudegarn, and I was going all in, and I got it to like 80k, and with 1 card in deck, and he got to 85 with 2 cards in deck, and then so he went to his turn, drew, and then was thinking about what to do, and then realized he only had 1 card and he passed, so then I lost, and then game 2, we never finished. The next round I played against, I believe, U7 Frieza. I won that matchup pretty clean 2-0. I then played against Apes, won that matchup 2-0. And all the while, throughout this happening, my symptoms were getting worse and worse. Chills, body aches, I was having issues with my throat. Throat was starting to get sore, and my lymph nodes were really swollen and tender and like hurting real bad. And I was cringing the entire time. It was hard for me to stand up straight because I had a really bad headache as well. So I knew I was getting sick. And so I played against my round 5 opponent. His name is Matt Bavaric. Awesome opponent. He's playing Red Blue SS3, and I had a really unfortunate set of games. Game 1 I flipped double blue. Game 2 I flipped blue red. I was on the play in game 2, so I was able to win. And then game 3 I was on the draw and flipped blue red again. So I had a really fortunate set when it came to variance. But he was an amazing opponent, so I wasn't upset or tilted about the game or whatnot. But I did notice myself not able to focus on the game itself. I was focused way too much on my symptoms, and that kind of took me out of a good place where I needed to be in to be able to continue the course of the day. So even though I was only 3-2, and I could have continued on and still done really well in the tournament because I was playing really well, the deck was performing really well, and I was really only losing to variance, I just couldn't focus anymore on just playing the game because of how sick I was, and I had to leave, which was unfortunate because being a bounty was awesome. PPG, they run an amazing event. They did a fantastic job. George Machado and Gabe Alonso. At the top of that event, they did an amazing job just getting it started on time and then making sure we did things in a timely fashion. We did have one repair, but that didn't throw too many things off. But in general, I had an amazing experience at Richmond, aside from the fact that I was sick. At first, I went to go get it diagnosed, and they said it was the flu. But then I fell asleep and woke up, and then I had gross stuff all over the back of my throat, and so I was then had to go get some antibiotics because it appeared that I actually had strep throat instead. So I've been dealing with that. I actually just went back to work today. I wanted to go back yesterday, but I couldn't go back until today just because I still had some nagging symptoms, but now I'm here. But in general, sorry about the Richmond recap. Figured I'd go ahead and do that while I was here. But in general, let's go ahead and talk about Ohio and what we need to prepare for. So let's go ahead and talk about the format. So this is the format right now. So these aren't the rankings of decks, 1 through 6. This is more so just how, if you look at the format, how it plays out level-wise. This is kind of how it all works. So at level 1, you have Blue-Yellow SS3. Blue-Yellow SS3 then loses to deck number 2 on the list, so basically level 2, which is Mono Blue SS3. Level 2 Mono Blue SS3 then loses to Blue-Green SS3. And then level 3, Blue-Green SS3 loses to Blue-Red SS3. Blue-Red SS3 falls victim to droids. And then Hero Aggro Blue-Red SS3 also loses to Blue-Yellow SS3. That's another thing. Then you have droids at number 5. So droids ends up beating a lot of the SS3 variants, especially the slower variants. And then Hero Aggro also does a really good job against the slower SS3 variants, especially blue-red, just because of the way they can take advantage of its inability to defend itself. So this is kind of the format as it stands right now. You know, I have blue-yellow at the top still because I still think that it does the thing that is the most oppressive on a pretty consistent basis. And the list that I have posted, and that I'll be going over here in a second because I have a list updated for this weekend for you guys to take with, as well as a full sideboard. And I'm also going to be able to put the links for those down in the description of the video, so you actually can just go click on the link to get the deck itself and also look at the sideboards. But it's actually just super consistent, and the more you learn to play the deck, the better sequencing you have, the more you're rewarded for it. I mean, the only thing you'll really lose too often with Blue-Yellow SS3 is a lot of times it's just variance. It's just not drawing the right cards when you need to draw the right cards. So that's why I commend Elon Hill so much, because that man has an affinity for drawing some good cards at the right time. I don't know what he does, but it's pretty amazing to look at his opener sometimes and just be like, whoa. How'd you do that? You have 2 Go-10s? I would kill just to have 1 Go-10. I just have this Planet Vegeta that I have to cast to find my Go-10. Hopefully I don't die. So Blue-Yellow SS3 is easily at the top still. Mono Blue SS3 is just, you know, it's the counter to Blue-Yellow. And it's just a really good deck overall. And if you can kind of mitigate its weaknesses to Blue-Green and Blue-Red, you're going to be able to have a pretty successful tournament. And you actually just have to really focus on learning how to play those matchups. So I'll go over that when we go over the deck itself. Blue-Green SS3, I think, has a really good matchup against Mono Blue as well as Blue-Yellow, especially main deck and sideboard. Just the existence of Full Power Energy, I know it's not a ton, but Full Power Energy and Sensu Bean is a really good way to stifle the opponent, because number 1, you'll be able to kill their 1-drop threat they're looking to swing in with, and then number 2, you have the Sensu Bean, so once they even do get past your Full Power Energy, you still have the bean to put your leader up to 20k as soon as possible to really impact their strategy. Blue-Red SS3, I think this deck is just really well positioned right now. I think in the format, when the format is starting to slow down, which it is, especially if you look at the evidence of the core TCG event, Blue-Red is just in a really prime spot. Now you just need to figure out how you can address Blue-Yellow, which I'll do in this video as well when I go over the deck list that I would play for this weekend if I had to play Blue-Red. And then we have Droids, straightforward. 7-drop Cell is really good against SS3. And you have a lot of really good Android cards now. You have the 3-drop Android Blocker. You have Android 17 from the Ultimate Box. The 4-drop that kills something has barrier as well. Then you also have Hero Aggro as the last, which is either blue-yellow or blue-red, like I said before, which counters a lot of the slower SS3 variants just because of how it can take advantage of their lack of energy. As you can see here, there is no Vegeta Energy Lock deck, or Vegeta Taxes, as I like to call it. It's not on here because I think that the deck is good. But the problem is with Blue-Yellow SS3 still being a really popular strategy, and Mono Blue actually having a pretty good game against Taxes, playing that deck is kind of risky. Taxes is really good in a format where Blue-Red SS3 is the best deck in the game because it pretty much single-handedly beats Blue-Red SS3 because its ability to keep them off of necessary energy on a given turn, as well as just the ability to capitalize on the fact that Blue-Red needs to play their 4 drop threats in order to be impactful, in order to win the game. So anyway, without further ado, we'll go into the first deck. So if I had to play blue-yellow this weekend, this is the blue-yellow list that I would sleeve up. This is a list that's currently on the Patreon that I went over today. I went over yesterday, and this is the configuration I would run with. Some key changes you'll see is that there's only two Unbreakable Sun Gokus. The main reason why is because, like I said, the thing that this deck is going to lose to more often than not is the fact that it's going to flip something off of the flip that isn't yellow, and you need to minimize that from happening. So we take out 2 Unbreakables, and we end up adding additional yellow cards to our yellow package, and that ends up fixing that problem right away. I've done some testing with this deck so far for a pretty good amount of time now, and I can say that the switch to 2 Unbreakables feels incredibly good. The deck is really strong, flips yellow more often, and just in general, 2 Unbreakables is kind of the sweet spot because Planet Vegeta can find one if you need to in the late game, and ultimately you have enough card draw that having the Unbreakable really isn't something that is 100% necessary. And the next changes that I made to the deck are we're running 4 Successor of Hopes, and we're running 3 Bardock, the Progenitor, and 3 Adoptive Father Son Gohan. Major reason for this is 4 Successor of Hope is kind of just it's a better way to get the exact card you need at the right time, and often I felt like I didn't have enough Adoptive Father Son Gohans, and I was either looking for one or having to spend a resource on one that I didn't want to, like a Planet Vegeta or something. And Bardock, the Progenitor, is really good for the first 2 to 3 times you do the Goten cycle. Other than that, he's just not, because you really can't afford to take the life across the course of the game because you need to be able to protect yourself. So playing the 3-3 split feels incredibly good right now in testing, and it's exactly what you need. You have as many Bardocks as you need to. You have Successor to fetch them out. And so if you look at it, the way the packages were working before, they were working with 4 Progenitor, 2 Adoptive Father, 3 Successors, and so we're just going from 9 to 10. So we're adding that extra Successor, and we're just going to split the 1 drops 3 and 3. We have 2 Master Roshi Forge of Will. I feel like this is a really good number in the main deck. You don't need anything more, anything less. This is the perfect amount of negates for you to be able to defend yourself, combined with the 3 Flying Nimbus. I know, 3 Flying Nimbus, whoa! You have to kill your darlings sometimes. As much as we want to play 4 Nimbus, your games have to finish. You have to not draw stuff that's going to clog you, and at the end of the day, you need finishers in the deck too, and Battering Laser kind of helps that out. The other thing that we did by taking out another Unbreakable was we have 3 Caring Mother Videls, which is big for us. This card is probably one of the MVPs in the deck because what it allows you to do once your opponent does even Sensu Bean is you can start dropping Caring Mother Videls, boosting your Gotens up to 15k, and then whenever your combo your Unyielding and Sensu Bean, you now are up to 20. You're being able to combo effectively with the finishers. So last weekend, since we expected a lot of blue-yellow mirrors, we were playing Mass Saiyan in the main deck. Well, now we're not. So, for instance, myself, I only played maybe 2 blue-yellow mirrors across the course of the day, and so I would rather always just have Mirror in the main deck plus Battering Laser and FTC than have Mass Saiyan, because it's just going to be a guaranteed way to end the game, especially, like I said, with the lack of mono blue. With the lack of blue-yellow SS3 at the event itself, and I think this week you're going to see continue to see a downtrend of blue-yellow SS3, so Mirror just continues to get better and better. So get closer and closer to Ben Lodice's list from St. Louis. 4 Legendary Flute, 4 Sensu Bean staples, 4 Unyielding staples. We're still running 3 planets, as I stated before. We have the Singleton Battering Laser that we cut the Flying Nimbus for, so again, killing our darlings to make sure we had the late-game finisher. And then we have 2 Mafuba main deck. This has been an absolute all-star. Dylan Rawson from the Patreon brought this to my attention a couple weeks ago in testing, because he was just like, the only thing he was losing to was Vegito, and he really just wanted to answer to it, and he started playing Mafuba and was just talking about how much it wins games. I then started testing it myself, and I became a believer. And this also helps you with your blue sources. So now you have 18 blue sources in the main deck. You have a ton of yellow in the main deck as well, and now we really reduce the amount of off-color cards, because now we're only at 6 off-color cards. So if we hit one off the flip, that means we're getting extremely unlucky, but we're still have a high percentage to hit yellow, which is exactly where we want to be. The sideboard itself, we have 2 awe-inspiring Vegitos, so this is going to be great for anytime you're playing a mirror match. Is you can kind of have your trump card, so you can side in your 2 awe-inspiring Vegitos and kind of take out your 2 Mafubas, so you can keep your blue count the same. You then have your 2nd Battering Laser whenever you're playing in slower matchups, your 4th Nimbus against aggro, your 2 Gene Family of Justice for the mirrors, your 2 Bardock Will of Irons for the mirrors, and then you have your 1 Ultimate Potential SS2 Son Gohan when you need additional removal, 2 Mass Saiyan for the mirror, 2 Haru Haru. This is for cell chain matchups, as well as if you ever play against a Bloodlust leader, as opposed to playing Cronoa, you can just really get tons of mileage out of just Haru Haru, Flute, Haru Haru, Flute, Haru Haru, and then that way you're just drawing a ton of cards, putting a ton of pressure on the opponent, hitting them with crit attackers. And then lastly, we have 2 Scientists who in the sideboard whenever we're playing against something like Cell Chain as well, to be able to draw the additional cards and catch up if they ever do get a chance to Cell Chain us. And it's just, again, another one of the finishers in the deck. So if I was playing Blue Yellow SS3, this is the list that I would sleeve up for this next weekend. It's been doing incredibly well in testing, and I've just been enjoying it. I think the deck is really strong and it rewards really good play. And if you tend to play really tight, you're really good with your sequencing, and then this is the deck for you. So next, we're moving on to Mono Blue SS3. So here, a lot of the stuff stays the same, but the thing we have to address this week is we have to address the fact that Bergamo's no longer that good. And the reason why Bergamo's not that good is because, again, people are aware. So people are playing Blue-Green SS3. They're playing more removal main deck now. And so playing Bergamo is kind of a wasted slot. So you need to make sure you have more sticky threats, and at the same time, you need to make sure you have more card draw. Because Blue-Red SS3 is going to be making a bigger splash this week because people project Mono Blue to be one of the top decks. So what I opt to do this week is I opt to go back to 4 energy-boosted Majin Buu in the main deck. This is going to help you essentially continue to cycle through and combine with your 2 legendary flutes, produce more card draw for you. On top of that, we change our split for awakening cards. We go back to 3 Oath's Power Tapion versus 2 Indiscriminate Obliterator Sidra. We're going to want the removal of Oath's Power Tapion on time and the guaranteed awaken for the slower matchups. Sidra is still incredibly good, but it's only good the one time you play it, whereas Oath's Power Tapion is really good whenever you play it in the mirror. So I really prefer Oath's Power Tapion over Sidra this week. We're still playing Majin of Fire in the main deck because I think it gives us the edge in the SS3 mirrors, as well as gives us the edge even in the aggro matchups, just because of the ability to drop one of this on turn 1, still have access to Senzu Bean and still defend our life, and then that way we can go ahead and get to our 4 drops as quickly as possible. As opposed to Bergamo this week, we're playing 2 Piccolo the Strategist. This is so that we have a threat that is number 1 sticky because he has barrier, and number 2, it's just another kill spell. So we have the ability to kill something on the opponent's board that's equal to or less than our energy, and just Piccolo has crit, it can pressure the opponent. It kind of helps set up our late game when we're playing SS3 mirrors, which we'll get to in a second. We're playing 2 Vegeta Prince of Speed. Again, I think if you're playing in a format that has Blue-Red SS3 in it, you need to play Prince of Speed. If you're not playing Prince of Speed right now, you're doing yourself a disservice, just because of how strong SS3 is, Vegeta is, when you're dealing with something like Chain Zeno. So your opponent Chain Zenos you, right? They aren't going to be able to kill you that turn unless you're relatively low on life, and if you've done that, then you've already made a big error before. But Prince of Speed is just back on your turn. You drew the Prince of Speed, you play the Prince of Speed, you draw 2 more cards, and now you're ahead. And so Prince of Speed does that for you, and it continues forcing the Zeno player to either have to respond with something big, like a Foreseeing Hit or a Kefla, or they're going to have to Zeno you again. And so you just keep getting to this thing where you just keep playing Vegeta Prince of Speed, and you keep catching up, and the opponent's just like, what is going on? And then ultimately, you're just trying to continue building a board. So then you have 2 Dragon Fist SS3 Son Goku. Again, this is great against the opposing sticky threats like the Blue-Green matchup, playing the Mono Blue matchup mirror, and also just good in general, and it's going to play into part of our sideboard strategy in some of these matchups. 2 Supreme Kai Time Lights Guide. I've had a lot of people coming to me over the weekend and thank me for recommending this, which this was recommended to me by the winner of the Canadian Regional because he played it in his Rudiger deck and found it to be incredibly good. And so I started testing it in Mono Blue SS3 as a way to help fix the card draw, because playing Supreme Kai of Time Lights Guide, drawing the card, swinging with my leader, make my leader 20k, and then fluting the Supreme Kai Time back to hand after I attack with it to be able to draw an additional card and have it back to hand, just produces a lot of card draw in the course of the game. So I like playing 2 Supreme Kai Time Lights Guide. And then our big over-the-top finisher, what we're trying to do in setup for, Fush Rat and Mystery. Honestly, this has been a huge boon to me when I've been trying to win the matchups against stuff like Blue-Green SS3 and Blue-Red SS3 in Game 1. Main reason why is because what you're trying to do is, with this deck, is you want to put enough pressure on the Blue-Red decks to where, like, you want to put just enough pressure to where they're not forced to chain Zeno, but you're slowly building a board. And by the time you're sticking a Vegito, and they can't deal with it, you stick a Piccolo the Strategist. They can't deal with it. Like, they're still presenting a board at the same time, but all you're trying to do is get 2 to 3 attackers on board, and then you want to play your Fush Rat and Mystery, and so that's all you're trying to build to. And even when they're Zennoing you and they're getting rid of your board, you're just trying to continue pressuring them enough to get their life total low enough to where a Fushrat and Mystery will win the game for you. And then that's how you're going to be able to edge them out in game 1. And also just Fushrat and Mystery is great in the mirror and mono blue, as well as blue green SS3. So this week, I like Fushrat Mystery back in the main deck. I think it's a great call this week. Playing 4 Sensubine, 4 Whisk Coercion, 2 Mafuba still. Mafuba is still one of the best cards in the game, so I love playing it. Our sideboard is 3 Courageous Heart Yajirobe, which is going to be for the aggro matchup. The third Mafuba. The third Piccolo the Strategist, 2 Trio Dangers Bergamo, which will come in the aggro matchup. Vegeta Prince of Speed, which comes in the blue-red matchup. Dragon Fist SS3 Son Goku, and 2 Ultra Instinct Son Gokus. The reason why you're doing this is because you want to do it against any deck that gets a wide board on you. So most of the time it's going to be against blue-red. Is you're going to want to bring in your Dragon Fist as well as your 2 Ultra Instincts. So you can drop your Dragon Fist, swing, untap 2, and then play your Ultra Instinct right away. So then that way you're wiping your opponent's board entirely, and then all they can do is respond with a Zeno on their turn and kind of reset the game, which is actually where you wanted to be anyway. And so that's what you're trying to do. Yeah, your opponent could foreseeing hit you and take your pieces, but if they're taking your Ultra Instinct out of your hand and not taking your super combos, then that's kind of a win-win anyway. That's kind of what you want to do, is be able to maintain the good cards in your hand at that time. So, again, I like that strategy against them. And then we bring in 2 Mass Saiyans for the blue-yellow matchup, 2 Scientists Fu we bring it in for the Cell Chain matchup, so any matchup where you feel like you need to draw additional cards. You could also bring it in against Blue-Red SS3 if you don't want to be on the Fushrat and Mystery plan. That's another option for you as well. But if I were going to be playing Mono Blue, this is the Mono Blue deck I'd play this weekend. Next we have Blue-Green SS3. So this list is actually a take off of Blake Rivera's list. He's one of my close friends. He plays for Beard Collectibles, and he got his invite over this past week on Blue Green SS3 with the list that was fairly similar to this. I made some changes to his deck before the event itself, helped out with the sideboarding, and so we were able to get him prepared. But here's the list. So the first thing you're going to notice is I'm not playing any Newfound Power Sun Go On. Main reason why is because I want to be able to, number 1, increase the blue count in the deck, because I want to be able to play Princess Speed's main deck as opposed to playing Beer's Universe 7 Divine Vanquisher. And I also wanted to play Sidra because Sidra is going to give you that additional utility that you want anyway. So Sidra gives you removal, similar to those Power Tapion, takes a life, which is the same exact thing as Newfound Power Sun Gohan, because that's all Newfound Power does. If you're not playing any Legendary Flutes, playing Newfound Power Sun Gohan doesn't really make any sense. And so Sidra also gives you the relevant text of being a blocker. And Sidra is really easy to cast, only costs 1 blue. As opposed to playing Oath's Power Tapion in sets previous, which costs 2 blue, that kind of makes your energy really weird. So even in this deck, if you open like red-blue, you can still have red, blue, charge a green on turn 2, and then you're still able to play your Sidra, still awaken, and you're still able to then play a green or a blue or whatever you need to make sure your energy stays on time. So I really do like Sidra in this spot as the awakening card. We're still playing 4 awe-inspiring Vegetos in the main deck. A card is just too good not to play, especially combined with King Vegeta Surprise Attack. Playing 3 Vegeta Princess Speeds. Again, this is going to help us in the red-blue matchup. This is where you want to be. This is the card that you want. And we're playing that alongside of 2 Scientist Fu for the same reason. It's the card you want all the time. We have 4 Sensubeans, 3 Whisk Coercions, and the rest of the stuff is pretty stock when it comes to the green deck. So 4 Nailed to Namekian Ace, which is an overperformer all the time. I never want to take this card out of any of my decks when I'm playing green. 3 Combo Killer on Elaza. You really don't need the 4th copy, and so I'd rather take that 4th copy and make it the 3rd Princess Speed, which is what I did. 4 Kami's Power Piccolo. It's your best kill spell in the game because you can reuse it every single turn. Has barrier, double strike. It's a great threat. And then of course we have our Full Power Energy, King Vegeta's Prize Attack, negates Beans, and Scientist Fu, which I think this main deck is great. I think this deck is already one of the best decks in the game right now. And these improvements to kind of help fix that red-blue matchup is going to be something that helps take your game to the next level over this next week if you get a chance to test. Side deck, 1 Whisk Coercion, 3 Courageous Heart Yajirobe. These are going to be for the aggro matchups. 2 Mafuba. This is going to be for your slower control mirrors. So what you can do is actually side out your 4 Full Power Energy, side in your 2 Enrage Gohan Awakening and your 2 Mafuba, and then that way you have something to be able to kill and mitigate threats that your opponent is playing, especially if you're playing the mid-range and control games. We have 2 Fu Shrouded Mystery for the mid-range and control matchups as well. Then we have 3 Dragon Fist SS3 Son Goku. This is when we need to get big and play against the mirror. We're trying to remove barrier threats. You just side these in over your Princess Beats, and then everything else here is pretty straightforward. So we're really just teching against mid-range and control mirrors because in main deck we already have the answers that we want. 2 Red Blue SS3, which is our Princess Beats and our Scientist Fu. So everything else is just going to be mid-range control mirrors as well as the aggro matchup, which this deck's already favored in game 1. Last deck is Red Blue SS3 that we're going to be going over. So, we talked about the weakness of Red Blue SS3 before and how it falls a victim to the aggro matchups. And so, what we need to do is we need to be taking stock of that when we're building our deck this week, right? We need to make sure that we have the answers for aggro already built in. And so, sideboard, we can just side into a standard, red mid-range SS3 deck to play against all the fair decks like mono blue, blue green SS3, etc. But at the same time, we need to make sure we have additional cards in the sideboard that help us in the aggro matchup. So first thing is instead of playing 3 burst attack Son Gohans, we're playing 2 in the main deck. Another thing is that our Awakening cards, we're not playing Digging Deep Vegeta in the main deck. We're playing Indiscriminate Sidra instead. Again, for the same reason that I talked about in the green deck. It's going to be able to kill something, has blocker, which is a relevant text. Still awakens you when you need it if you're at 5 life. So really strong card. I also like the fact that we play 2 Vados Assistants in this deck along with the Discriminate Sidra. So you can block. If your opponent chooses not to combo, you then can just like, okay, cool, my 15k lives. And then if they swing again, you then Vados Assistants, untap your Sidra, and then now you can block with your Sidra again. So it's a pretty nifty interaction. We're still playing 4 Chain Attack, 3 Zeno. We're now adding the addition of Awe-Inspiring Vegito. We're running 3 copies in the main deck. This is going to be, again, for the aggro matchup. You can live to your 4th energy. If you live to your 4th energy and don't have the Chain Zeno or don't have something that you can play that's impactful, you play the Vegito to be able to start buying time and turning the game or around the corner in your favor. So then on your next turn, you can drop something like Kefla, or if you then have Foreseeing Hit or Chain Attack Trunks, and those are the better plays, you can make those plays on the following turn. But Vegito is just kind of that bridge to get you to where you need to go, especially in that aggro matchup. So in game 1, the goal of this deck is to make sure that we have game against aggro, but at the same time, we can still be the dominant mid-range SS3 blue-red deck against the other SS3 decks in the format, like mono, blue, and blue-green, etc. And so this deck is kind of built for that. So sideboard, we run the additional 2 Vados Assistants to put us up to 8 negates in the main deck if we're playing against aggro. We have the 3rd Burst Attack Son Gohan when we're trying to transition to being just the actual true mid-range deck. 3 Digging Deep Vegetas, which will come in for the Indiscriminate Syndras, where we're trying to be the true mid-range deck. 2 Pride and Justice Topos when come in when we're trying to go up again. So essentially, we just take out your 2 Vados Assistants, put in your 2 Pride and Justice Topo. That's an even swap. Then we have 2 Terror Assault Frost whenever we're dealing at any deck that plays Vegito itself, or anything that you just feel like is troublesome you need to kill. You put in your 2 Terror Assault Frost, great sideboard card. Then we have 2 Bafuba for any Go Big matchup. We have the 4th Awe-Inspiring Vegito for the aggro matchup, and then we have 2 Mass Saiyans for the aggro matchup. So essentially, post-board against the aggro matchup, you can end up siding out cards that you don't need. So say, for instance, that you're not playing Burst Attack, which you probably won't be in that matchup. You'll side out the 2 Burst Attacks, put in the 2 Vados Assistances, side out the 2 Scientist Fu, put in the 2 Mass Saiyans, and then you can side out you just side out Kefla altogether. So you side out your 3 Keflas, and then you can put in the cards that you need. So side out 3 Keflas, put in your 2 Vados Assistances, then you can bring in your 1 burst attacks and go on to go to 3 burst attacks to keep your curve lower, and then minus your Scientist Fu for your Mass Saiyans. So that ends up being a really solid sideboard plan for you against the aggressive decks in the format. And so there you go. You just bring in your Vegito as well, and then now you have a deck that is really good post-board against aggro, had a good game against it in game 1. Game 2, you just make the matchup even better. And then if you're playing against something like mono blue or blue green, you can just side out your Sidras, put in your Digging Deeps, put in your Burst Attack, put in your Topos, put in your Frost, put in your Fuba, and then you're good. You're then now, like I said, back to that dominant mid-range blue-red deck. But in general, these are the decks that I would play this weekend. These are the configurations that I would look to play. I think that these are all in a really good spot and can be top performers if you're looking to go ahead and get yourself your invite this weekend. I hope you found this video incredibly helpful, and I hope in general that you continue to follow the content on the YouTube, because I have to say that what I will be doing soon, because since we hit the 200 patron mark on the Patreon, I am going to be doing a full-blown YouTube video series for brand new players getting in the game from start to finish, from how to build a deck, how to sequence, how to play the game, essentially just how to evaluate cards when you're trying to build a deck, how to evaluate formats, like how to go straight from being zero to a competitive player, all within a YouTube video series. And I'm really excited about getting into that. But in general, I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. I'll be trying to do brand new content for the World Martial Arts Tournament within the next few days, as well as next week, so you guys can get some ideas what to look for when September 21st hits, as well as what some decks are going to look like September 21st when we don't have Flute. So look forward to that content coming within the coming week, okay? Anyways, thank you guys again so much for everything you do. Thank you for all the well wishes when I was out. And, thank you so much again to Pat O'Neill and Richard Zapp for, stepping up and helping me as much as they did and just being there for me. And, thank you so much to Chris Welch for reaching out to me. Just all my friends in general, Eric Goodwin posting on my page, like, just the community is amazing. And, Blake Rivera, baby, I got his invite. I'm just so stoked about everything. I think the community is awesome, and I just hope that we continue to grow together, and hopefully that this content just continues to get better and better for you guys, so we can just continue to just dominate the formats, man, and just have a ton of fun and just make the best content, put up the best results as just as a community that likes to follow really good content here at 3 Sheep Productions. Otherwise, I'm really excited. Thank you guys again so much. I'm stalling over worlds. Okay, bye!